Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. Good to have you in on a Tuesday. We start off a little bit early, but we got an absolutely massive show. We got some more news, some more NBA news. NBA Media Day happened yesterday. Jimmy Butler's got a brand new emo look. He's trolling the media once again. But we're going to talk about a recent trade that happened over the weekend. But as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on a early Tuesday?
I'm doing great. There's a lot of news here. We got to get going.
Yeah, no, we got a massive show, but let's jump right into it with the breaking news over the weekend, which was the fact that Jrue Holiday is now a Boston Celtic in a pretty big trade, I would say. Let's bring up what the trade is. The trade was Jrue Holiday going to the Celtics, and the Celtics giving up guard Malcolm Brogdon, center Robert Williams, and also 2 first-round picks. The first-round pick that they got in this offseason, which is a top 4 protected pick from Golden State, and they also give up a 2029 first-round unprotected pick. All that for Jrue Holiday. The Blazers, in that Dame trade, are making massive moves, and the Blazers are actually reportedly planning on trading away or seeing if there's interest in Malcolm Brogdon to get even more assets back from that entire Dame sphere that they had. What was it, I think, last week? So I want to know, do you think the Celtics made the right move in trading for Jrue Holiday?
Mm-hmm. First, I'll say I think the Blazers made an amazing haul here when it's all considered, and if they trade Malcolm Brogdon, which they might, because they have a lot of guards, right? So they may give him up too, and they'll probably get quite a bit for him. So they've made an amazing haul here, and they should be a good team down the road, a very good team down the road, I would think, if they're lucky on the draft. The draft is a lottery these days, so it's hard to know where you might wind up. But if they probably next year, then probably won't be that great, right? So they may, and they got the Celtics pick that in 24, right?
The 4th pick is Golden State's.
Okay.
The 2029 pick is theirs.
I see. Okay. So I think they gave up a lot to get Jrue Holiday, okay? Because I think he's a good player, and I think that the Celtics may have panicked a little bit when they saw Damian Lillard go to the Bucks and what they're going to have and how hard it's been for them to beat the Bucks. And how well the Bucks did last year, even though they screwed up in the playoffs. I think the Celtics might have panicked a little bit, felt they needed to get a all-star guard, and they picked up Jrue Holiday, who I think is a very good player. I just think they gave up an awful lot for him. And the other thing is they really only control him for 1 year, right? He has a player option for next year, and then if he does really well, he'll be out on the market again. He won't. These guys have no loyalty to a team anymore, so they give up a lot for a one year rental. Really, that's how I look at it.
I will say this though. First off, Derek White, now the projected depth chart has Derek White now being the backup. He was announced the starting point guard early in the NBA offseason, but now he's relegated back to being behind Jaylen Brown as the backup shooting guard, and then Jrue Holiday picks up that starting point guard role. All they did was get a better version, or at least a better offensive version of Marcus Smart. So last season, Jrue Holiday averaged 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists on basically 48% shooting from the floor and 38% from 3. Marcus Smart last year, 11 points a game, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 41.5% from the floor, and 33% from 3. So they basically got a better version, however, an older version, a 4-year older version of Marcus Smart. And
how about the defensive skills, though? I don't think Jrue Holiday is as good a defensive player as Marcus Smart. Right?
Well, I would definitely say. However, here's the thing, though. Like, Jrue Holiday has 5 all-defensive teams.
Oh, it does.
Marcus Smart has 3.
Okay.
But Marcus Smart did win a Defensive Player of the Year award. So he has that over Jrue Holiday. But they just added a more dynamic piece, I think, because Marcus Smart was he definitely had his spurts where he could shoot the lights out of the ball from 3. But now Jrue Holiday is a more consistent version of that. He also could play great defense. However, the big thing here is the Celtics had a problem with turnovers. They had a problem handling the ball, a.k.a. Jaylen Brown had 8 turnovers in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat. Jrue Holiday actually has more turnovers per possession than Marcus Smart did. So there is that aspect of it where, yes, you are getting a better shooter and a more around I would say an all around better player with the assists and the rebounds. However, you are getting a guy who on like per possession does give up the ball more, and that's once again you have a player like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum who have had turnover issues in the past. Jaylen Brown, we saw him in the playoffs last season, and then 2 seasons ago we saw Jason Tatum have triple-digit turnovers in the playoffs, which is
that's something
insane.
the Celtics have to work on. Is fewer turnovers for everybody,
right?
Not just Jrue Holiday, but also Tatum and Brown. They both had issues with that last year. I agree.
Yeah. So while I think this is a good move, at least for the aspect of you're replacing what you gave up to the Grizzlies. By the way, that should have been Malcolm Brogdon instead of Marcus Smart, but then Malcolm Brogdon had that issue with his elbow, and then was mad at the Celtics up until about now because he's gone. But they literally just got a better offensive piece, a better offensive version of Marcus Smart.
How about the front court though? I mean, they gave up Williams.
That's big. I would say that's big. You're probably your best big man defensive. I would say your best defensive player. No, because Marcus Smart was there. Your second best defensive player. He's now gone, and now you have a very old Al Horford, and then Kristaps Porzingis as your 2 big men, and then you got like Luke Cornett. And I forgot you have the depth chart there. Who's the backup? Was it power forward? I think it's first an H. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've never seen. I barely even seen him.
I don't even know who he is.
Can I say it real quick? So what I'm talking about is Hauser, Sam Hauser.
Okay.
I think he's the only other piece that had like a decent amount of playing time in the playoffs. So really, you went from having a very deep lineup.
He's a small forward.
Oh, that's interesting. You're now like last season when I looked at the Celtics, while the Milwaukee Bucks had the best record, you take a look down the Celtics lineup, they had phenomenal depth. Now you're giving up a decent amount of that depth, and we just saw Malcolm Brogdon, who was 6th man of the year. He's now going he also shot 44% from 3. You're giving him up a great 6th man of the year, phenomenal piece. I thought he maybe should have started at the point guard position early, before last season, but he didn't, of course. And then you decided to replace him with, at the time, was Derek White. You replaced Marcus Smart with Derek White, and now he's going to be, back up to Jaylen Brown, and now you replace Jrue Holiday in that position. You're giving up a lot.
Maybe they're thinking there's a line to another big man before they're done here, trading, right? Maybe there's somebody else out there they're looking at that they know they're going to get.
The problem is contracts, though. Like the big thing's contracts. We have Derek White, who's up for an extension. He's up for like a 3-year, $88 million extension. You have to determine whether or not you're going to extend him. Then you also got to determine whether or not you're going to sign Jrue Holiday on for a long-term deal. Then you also have the opportunity this upcoming summer to sign Jason Tatum to his Supermax deal. So you have a lot of pieces. If I had to make a prediction right now before the season even started, Derek White's going to be gone. Next season, Derek White won't be a Boston Celtic. I think they're going to extend Jrue Holiday. They're going to give Jason Tatum that Supermax, and then they're going to rock with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Jrue Holiday. You already have Kristaps Porzingis signed to a number of years. And then Al Horford, I think he's a huge question mark just because of his age.
Yeah.
So I don't hate this move because you're getting a better fit to what Mazzulla was going for. He wasn't a big defensive guy. Ime Udoka was a huge defensive guy. Play defense 100% of the time. Now, we had Mazzulla bring in that 3-point heavy shooting lineup. You get a better version of that, a better fit to that with Jrue Holiday. Although I don't know, I would have preferred to keep Brogdon, but Brogdon was pissed at the Celtics over the potential trade that actually should have gone through with when he was traded to potentially the Grizzlies. So instead it was Marcus Smart. I don't know.
I think they need to try to find another big guy.
Yeah.
Before the season starts.
You need depth. That's the problem. Because Kristaps Porzingis recently has been dealing with injuries since his ACL. Al Horford, he's aging. You don't want to play a guy who's, like 37 years old. You want to play him 60-plus games. You want to keep him fresh. We saw him in the playoffs. He was horrible shooting. He like 0 for 7, 0 for 5. He couldn't shoot the 3-ball at all.
He's probably tired.
And Robert Williams, you got rid of him, but he also had a problem. I think he played, since he came into the league, I think he played 51% of the games. He barely even played. However, when he did play, he was a phenomenal defensive force.
I think they kind of figured that out, though. He had a knee injury. He had a knee issue, right?
Yeah.
and his weight was more, and he slimmed down. He slimmed down. He was slimmer than he was the prior year. And last year, once he got in there, he was fine. He didn't have any injury. He played the latter part of the last season. He didn't have any issues.
Well, even when you look at the playoffs against the Warriors, like that playoff run, he was dealing with it. He was playing through injury. So I'm not denying his toughness. However, when you miss basically half the season each year, that's a little bit shocking. And the fact that you were able to get a talent like Jrue Holiday when you barely play in the NBA and add him as a crucial piece of that trade, clearly the Blazers see something. And then again, the Blazers needed big men. They needed wing defenders. And Robert Williams gives you that big man piece. Add him with, what was it? I forgot the trade. Did Nurkic go there, or was Nurkic traded?
Nurkic went to the Suns. Yeah.
Ayton, that's who it is. DeAndre Ayton went to the Blazers. Yeah. Now you have another piece there. Ayton's good offensively.
I think that's a very complimentary to get Williams to go there with Ayton, because Ayton's the offensive guy.
Ayton's
Williams
a 20
the
and 10
defensive
guy.
And
then, Williams gets you the 10 rebounds and 4 blocks a game or something like that. So that is a great compliment. Hey, the Blazers, they're looking at the future right now. The Bucks and the Celtics right now, they're in win now mode. The Blazers are like, wait 3-4 years, and then we'll be, top 4 seed of the Western Conference and make that run. That's what I think, at least.
I think
you got
you're right.
Shaedon Sharpe, you got Scoot Henderson. They got a young Robert Williams is young. You have Ayton, who's still a 20 and 10 guy. You got pieces there. I think the Blazers are going to be a fun watch in the coming years to see just how they develop some of their young players. Yeah. All right, let's get into last night's game. Monday Night Football. The Seahawks and the Giants battling it out. It was not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight at all. The score right there is wrong. That's my fault. The Seahawks won 24-3. The Seahawks sacked Daniel Jones a total of 10 times. A total of 11 sacks because they sacked, I think it was, I forgot who. I think it was Sterling Shepard in the backfield. They sacked somebody. That wasn't Daniel Jones, but they had 11 total sacks. It was Paris Campbell, sorry. 11 total sacks on the day, 10 coming from Daniel Jones. It was pretty bad. And they also forced Daniel Jones to commit 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and 1 fumble loss. He did fumble another time, but was able to recover it. So 2 total fumbles, 2 interceptions. One was a 97-yard pick six by Devin Witherspoon, who we each had going in the top 10 of our draft picks. So It was a pretty bad game for Dan. He did not look pretty. So I want to know, were you more surprised at the Seahawks dominating defense or the Giants' lack of offense?
Well, it looked a lot like the Dallas game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the offensive line, a sieve. I don't know how many times he got sacked by Dallas. I think it was 9 times in that game.
Yeah, I think so.
And now he got sacked 10 times in this game. I feel a little bad for him, right? He must be pretty sore. He's getting sacked all the time. And he's looking more like the Daniel Jones that we saw in the first 3 years of his career than last year, and that's unfortunate. I think a lot of it has to do more with the fact that he's not getting any time to throw the ball. And after a while, that just wears on you and affects your psyche, and you make mistakes. And that's what's happened to him. I saw the New York Post had the headline "Danny Dooms" on the cover there. The New York media is going to be really down on him. I don't think it's all his fault, but he has not played well so far this year. His touchdown to interception ratio now, for every 2 touchdowns he throws 6 interceptions. So that's really bad. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I think the Giants, they have a tough schedule, man. They're playing the Dolphins next weekend, I think. Right? I think that's who they're playing. They're going to have their defense is not going to
1 p.m. on Fox.
I don't know. The Dolphins scored 70 points against the Broncos. I doubt the Giants will give up that many, but they're going to have to get some more offense. I mean, they've only scored 3 points at home this season, right? They had 2 games, 3 points scored. That's pretty bad. 8 quarters, and only 3 points scored.
Yeah,
come on. Their offense is poor. They need Barkley back badly. They need to get the receiver core going a little bit better there too. I don't know what's happened there. They brought in Waller. They have better talent this year out there, but they don't seem. And actually, Daniel Jones completed most of his passes last night, but you can't throw the interceptions and you can't fumble the ball. Those are the problems he's had in the past, and now they seem to be coming back to haunt him.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And I'll say this. Yes, I think a lot of people, when it got to maybe, 5, 6 sacks, you start to feel bad for him. Then you get into like the 8, 9, 10 sack range. Yeah, not a good day at the office for Daniel Jones. However, I am not going to be so nice on Daniel Jones. Because what I got all offseason when I was criticizing him, calling him Danny Dink and Dunk, and calling him Danny Drops, people said, oh, he's a top 10 quarterback. Top 10. He has to be in the top 10 list. No, and even when I made my top 10 list, I said Daniel Jones may be 11th, and even people were coming at me saying after week 1, Daniel Jones will prove this list wrong, and he is in the top 10. Well, I think 40-0 the Cowboys put up on him. Not a great game for anyone on the Dallas or the New York Giants side. Can we all acknowledge something? I think in order to be at least a good quarterback, you have to, as many people think Danny Dimes is, some people even call him great. Some people call him even top 10. Can he perform when the lights are the brightest at some point? He has the worst winning percentage since 1970 in prime time. He is 1-12 in primetime games. He's abysmal. He is absolutely abysmal. And it once again, we're seeing problems that we saw pre-Brian Daboll. A lot of interceptions, fumbling, bad decision-making, and that's what we're getting now. I said that 15 touchdowns, or if people want to include his rushing touchdowns, 22 total touchdowns is not worth $40 million a year. Now, as a joke, yes, I said I wouldn't pay him $15 million a year. He got 40. That's why I'm ripping on him, because he is making $40 million a year. Is he better than Geno Smith? Well, you just saw it last night. No, he isn't. Even when Geno is injured, he's still better than Daniel Jones. Geno's making $25 million a year. So if we're taking a look at Daniel Jones here, I think it's unfair to say that we have to feel bad for him because you know what? He puts himself in the situation. We heard reports all throughout the offseason. He's asking for 42. He's asking for 45. $45 million. He threw 15 touchdowns. If we see something, absolutely abysmal that we saw in the early part of Daniel Jones' career, and he looks slightly better than that, but he doesn't look great. He doesn't look good. It's still bad. You go from worse to slightly less bad. So we can't put that as a good quarterback or as a top 10 quarterback because we just saw a slightly better version of hot garbage. That's what he is. So, I mean, yes, we could all be upset about his offensive line. However, he actually is 13th in time to throw. We have quarterbacks who perform better with less time to throw, like, for instance, C.J. Stroud has less time to throw. Jordan Love has less time to throw. Ryan Tannehill, who just played great against the Bengals. He has less time to throw. Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy. And check this out. The second lowest time to throw is Tua Tagovailoa. He is, at least on my list, is the second best quarterback in the NFL. So, and people were also,
number of times have been sacked.
Well, here's the thing. I'll even say this.
I don't think anyone's been sacked as much as Daniel Jones this year.
There is one quarterback that has been sacked more than Daniel Jones, and he's played better. Sam Howell. Sam Howell has performed better than Daniel Jones, and he has 2 more sacks. I'll also say this. We also have to make Daniel Jones accountable for his sacks. His pressure to sack rate, so pressures that end up in sacks, is ranked 4th. So he cannot evade sacks. And even in this game, there were probably 4 or 5 sacks where if he just didn't stay in the pocket, he wouldn't have been sacked. So, and also, people were ripping on Mac Jones. We're going to talk about it later. Ripping on Mac Jones for that fumble because he doesn't have the awareness. The same thing happened to Daniel Jones in this game. Not a single person saying, you have to have the awareness. When you're running outside the pocket, you got to have the awareness that people are going to follow you. I didn't hear a single thing all day.
No, they are calling him Danny Dooms.
Well, that's what was it? The New York Post said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I call him...
A lot of people read the Post.
I call him Danny Dink and Dunk because just like, once again, this year, just like last year, he has one of, if not the lowest average depth of target in the NFL. Last season, he was ranked dead last. This season, he's ranked second to last. So he's not a good quarterback. He's not good. I mean, Sam Howell, if we talk about bad offensive lines, Sam Howell, who first of all, he was a major question mark playing on, at the time, was an imploding team. We saw, coaches calling out other coaches right before the season starts. Sam Howell has been sacked more, pressured more, and has performed significantly better. He just went toe-to-toe with Philadelphia.
Took him to overtime.
And here's the thing. If they went for 2 at the end of the game, they could have won the game. They could have beaten Philadelphia if they decided to go for 2 on that beautiful throw on the buzzer beater touchdown. So they had their opportunity to beat the Philadelphia, and Sam Howell's getting beaten up to shreds. And he still plays better than Daniel Jones. So, putting him in the top 10, I knew was not a good thing. That's why I didn't put him in. Because if he goes from terrible to slightly less worse, that's still not good. You have a whole mountain to climb. 15 passing touchdowns, 22 total touchdowns. How can that be top 10? On any level, that can't be top 10. So, to have the worst winning percentage. We rip on Kirk Cousins for having horrible primetime games. Daniel Jones is much worse. A .077 winning percentage.
Yeah. 1 in 12.
1 in 12. So, top 10? No, sir. No, sir. And offensive line, guess what? Geno Smith was hurt. The Seahawks lost 2 offensive linemen in this game. Jamal Adams came back for all of 3 seconds and then ended up getting concussed, unfortunately.
He's hardly played. They say he's been out more games than he's played since he went to Seattle.
This was supposed to be this, I guess, technically was his first game back in 385 days, and he was out for 5 seconds before getting concussed. I will give Daniel Jones this. He could take a beating.
Yeah.
He was getting killed. So
that has to affect your psyche in terms of your decision making. If you know you're getting creamed every other play,
right?
I think that
here's something I found hilarious.
That would affect me. I know that.
Yeah, if you're getting beaten around by 300-pound guys,
right,
wanting to kill you all the time, and I will say
succeeding
this,
at it.
I will say this. I think Brian Daboll feels stuck. I think he feels stuck, and this is why the franchise tag was created for moments like this, where guess what? They denied his 5th-year option. They could have franchise tagged him to see if he wasn't a one-hit wonder. And this was Brian Daboll in the middle of the game after that interception. What are you doing, Daniel Jones? And then this is also another clip that went viral. He's showing him on the iPad, hey, we're in the blue jerseys, not the white ones. You can't be throwing it to the white jerseys. And then flips the iPad away. So in my mind, Brian Daboll feels stuck. Brian Daboll feels very stuck, calling out Daniel Jones. There's really not much you could do. You signed him for $40 million a year. I think he had $82 million fully guaranteed at signing. He's made his money and he's going back to the way he used to play. He's regressing before our very eyes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All these weapons, Darren Waller, Jalen, Hyatt, bring him out there. Paris Campbell's coming in. Sterling Shepard's back. You can't get it to him. I would have franchise tagged him.
Yeah.
But, I'm not, was it Joe Schoen or whatever the GM for the Giants is?
They franchised Saquon Barkley instead.
Yeah. And Saquon, like I said in the offseason, Saquon is the reason for this offense. He's the main cog that got this offense going. I don't have the graphic. I have to find the graphic.
So you would have done a bigger deal for Saquon Barkley and franchise tag Daniel Jones.
I would have franchise tagged Daniel Jones and signed Barkley for, let's say, $38 million for 3 years. Because guess what? You'd be paying more over the entirety of Saquon's contract for 1 year of Daniel Jones. You'd have had Saquon for 3 years for less than 1 year of Daniel Jones. Regardless if he's hurt or not, he's cheaper than Daniel Jones and is the main piece of your offense.
That's a good point. A very good point.
It's unfortunate. Let's go to another. Oh God. Let's get into it. So the Patriots. What a game.
What a terrible game.
So, Mac Jones, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble, 1 pick six. Not pretty at all. The Cowboys defense absolutely, shut down anything the Patriots tried to do, and the Patriots had no answers for the Cowboys as they fall to 1-3 in the 38-3 loss. This loss is the largest of Bill Belichick's coaching career, which is absolutely crazy when you think Belichick's been coaching for 30-plus years. So, I don't know. What was your reaction to this loss?
Very surprised that they lost this badly. Generally they're in the games. The games that they lost this year were winnable games. They had a chance to win them at the end, and this game was just out of hand. And it was on. I say it's on Mac Jones, a lot of it, because he did throw the 2 interceptions and he had the fumble. It looked a lot like Daniel Jones out there, the Jones brothers.
Yeah.
Right.
The Joneses did not have a good week.
4 interceptions and 2 fumbles between them, right? They were the 2 peas in a pod. Yeah. So I was very disappointed. I also think that Mac Jones has regressed. He gets antsy in the pocket. He doesn't hang in there. He runs out of the pocket before it's necessary, when the pass protection is enough for him to go through the rest of his reads and make a decision on who to throw the ball to. He's out there running out to the side and throwing the ball back across the field. That's a total mistake. That's how he got the pick six. It was just he never should have thrown that ball. He should have just eaten it, and he should have stayed in the pocket. I don't understand it. But it's not all his fault. I mean, the offensive line, again, was a terrible. They have no running game at all. They have good running. Those two running backs are good running backs. They just have nowhere to run. There's no hole for them to run through. So and now the other thing that's bad about it, they got two bad injuries, right? Christian Gonzalez got hurt. And Matthew Judon, and Judon, you say, may be out the rest of the season with a torn bicep muscle?
He may not play again this year.
Wow, that will be terrible for them. And Gonzalez, we don't even know what the severity of his injury is, right?
No official word has been said. How long?
So
we were
Patriots,
told indefinitely.
Patriots are in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing at home this week against the Saints. They have to find a way to win that game. They have to win that game. That's probably a game they can win, I would think,
Yeah.
And but I'm not sure they'll be able to. I think, given the way they played, it could be a long season because they have a very tough schedule.
They do. I will say this: props to the Cowboys' offensive coaching, because when Christian Gonzalez went down, the first play, the very, very next play, they targeted the backup of Christian Gonzalez's man, which is Miles Bryant. He got cooked on the very first play, which led for a touchdown. Miles Bryant, who, if I look at the depth chart here, let me just quickly look, is I guess right now, yeah. So he's like the third cornerback on the team. Meanwhile, Shaun Wade is the other one. Shaun Wade and Miles Bryant both came in. Dak Prescott targeted them by far out of any other Patriots defensive back. I have the number here. So Miles Bryant, 7 targets, 7 catches allowed, 65 yards, that touchdown you just saw, 144.9 passer rating allowed. Shaun Wade, 8 targets, 6 catches, 76 yards, 104.2 passer rating. Dak targeted them every single pass. They're not good.
And plus, the Patriots didn't get enough pressure on Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
He had plenty of time to throw the ball. He picked them apart.
So Shaun Wade is let's see. Technically, if I'm looking here, he's the 4th string cornerback. 4th string. And he's out here playing significant snaps against significant
Jonathan
players.
Jones is hurt. Jack Jones is hurt. Marcus Jones is hurt.
Yep.
Right? All the Joneses are out.
Yeah.
So the Patriots, they're hurt by injuries now. Their defense could be better if they had all their players in there. Losing using Judon is huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
When
he's an all-pro player.
White, who at least showed some promise in the preseason, however it was in the preseason. He'll need to fill a significant hole.
Keon White's played well in the regular season, too.
So he's going to be the piece to fill. He's going to be the guy to fill in for Matthew Judon. Will he be up for the task as a rookie?
I thought he was lineman. Just Matthew Judon is more of an edge rusher, right?
Was it Gerard Mayo said that Keon White's going to be the guy to fill in for Matthew Judon. However, you are right. He is technically a defensive end, but I'm just going off what Gerard Mayo said. I'm not going to defend Mac Jones because there is really nothing to defend. However, I can give context because context matters. If you want to call it an excuse, fine. If you want to call it reasoning, go ahead. I consider it context because it allows us to paint the whole picture of whether or not let's allow the viewer to decide whether or not it's Mac Jones' fault. So the Dallas defense is 2nd in turnovers, 2nd in pass defense, 3rd in pass rush, 2nd in coverage. They are a completely dominating defense. Not only that, they're 3rd in touchdown percentage, so they allow, they're 3rd in touchdown percentage, so every drive, the chance that a touchdown is scored, the percentage that a touchdown is scored at the end of that drive. So I mean, they don't allow points. They don't allow really any offense going. Yes, they have a bad loss against a hard-playing Arizona team. I think they were looking towards the next week because Arizona is a team that at least going into the season, a lot of teams just brushed off of like, oh yeah, they're going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. They're going to go for a top pick. However, they've been playing their asses off. So I got to hand it to them. The Cardinals have been playing great. Will I pick them this week? Maybe. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait for Friday. I also found this interesting. So as we talked about before the season started, I think it was, I could get the name wrong. I think it was someone from ESPN ranked the supporting cast for each team. The Patriots were ranked 26th. So I went down the list. So there's 32 teams in the NFL, right? And you normally have a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2 on the field at all times. So if you times that by 2, that's 64. That's 64 receivers, right? If you were to rank them. So the Patriots, you take obviously the one team off because that's what we're going for. So if I were to ask you, what's the highest rated Patriots receiver? What position or like what number? Well, where would you say that highest Patriots receivers ranked?
Out of 64?
Out of the entire NFL. But I'm adding context here.
I'd say none of them are above the halfway point.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. There's none above the halfway point.
Which would be what, 32?
Yeah.
So yeah, no. So basically, every team's wide receiver 1, the Patriots they're not in the 32. So let's double it. You think they're in the 64 range?
Probably not.
Is the highest rated Patriots receiver even amongst the 64 best receivers in the NFL?
No.
77th.
77th, then which one is that?
Demario Douglas, their wide receiver 4.
Really?
He is He's highest rated Patriots receiver.
That's sad.
That is genuinely sad. And that puts in
That's wide receiver. How about tight ends?
Tight end, I didn't do the tight end.
I mean, the Patriots are playing 3 tight ends at once.
Pharaoh Brown.
And you know why? Because their offensive line is terrible.
It's abysmal.
Yeah.
And the problem is, though, you don't have a great block. Like, Hunter Henry is a perfectly okay blocking tight end. Gesicki, he's not great. He wasn't great. And we even talked about it. I didn't love the move because he was very limited. He wasn't this, all around, decent tight end. He wasn't great. I don't love the move. And I talked about this even last season when I tried to defend Mac Jones. After his rookie year, they didn't really bring in anyone to help Mac Jones out. There is no help here.
I know.
Yes, Mac Jones, there's a lot of things you could say that is wrong about Mac Jones. For instance, as soon as he gets pressure, he runs away like a little kid that's scared and just flicks the ball away. I don't love that. He doesn't step into his throws. The only throw that I think
he's timid.
I don't know if it's the injury that he had, the high ankle sprains against the Ravens. I don't know what it is. I think he's afraid to get hit.
He's afraid to get hit. He runs out of the pocket. He doesn't step into his throws. He looks lost out there right now, I must say.
And I'll say this. He has no support. The offensive efficiency, so right now, the Patriots, the offensive line is second in hurries. They're third in pressures. Mac Jones doesn't really get hit. However, they're 10th in QB hits. And Mac Jones, people ripped on him for the fact that he takes dumb sacks. He doesn't take any sacks anymore because he's running around all the time. So I'm not going to defend Mac Jones and say that this wasn't his fault because he did play very poorly. So much so he got benched. And we're going to talk about it after the break. However, the Patriots all around are not a good team. Their defense just took a huge shot. Their offensive line is basically non-existent. Their running game makes no sense. Ramondre Stevenson was a 1,000-yard back. You bring basically the same offensive line back. You move Trent Brown to the other side. Maybe who knows? That could maybe add a factor to it. But he's nowhere near the same type of production. Ezekiel Elliott actually is putting up more production here. Mac Jones looks completely lost. I seriously don't know if it's the injury. If he doesn't trust the offense. I'll also say this. We gave Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt. 4 head coaches, 5 offense, whatever the case may be. Mac Jones doesn't get a pass. He's had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. One of which was Matt Patricia, a defensive guy. What? And also, we talked about this last night. Play action is non-existent in the Patriots offense. Where he excelled was in the play action with Josh McDaniels. Matt Patricia didn't know how to make a play-action play. I think it's like 16% compared to 27% Mac Jones rookie year.
You can't do play action if you can't run the ball. You can't do play action if you can't run the ball.
Last season, if Matt Patricia had 6 brain cells, he had a 1,000-yard running back. They did play action 16% of the time. That's like a 12% decrease from Mac Jones rookie year. And now you come to this season, now you're doing it 14%.
I wonder, maybe you know these stats.
Yeah.
The Patriots were 1-3 last year at this point.
They've
right?
been 1-3 the past 3 seasons.
Okay. And how about the offense overall last year versus this year into 4 games? Where does it stand? I bet it's no better.
They're scoring 5 points less on average.
5 points less.
It was 18.3 last
with
season.
Matt
13.
Patricia as their offensive coordinator. I'd say
Correct.
Bill O'Brien. What the hell's going on? And also the offensive line coach. They have a different offense. Matt Patricia was the offensive line coach last year too.
Yeah.
They had a 1,000-yard rusher. Right now, Ramondre Stevenson. How many yards has he got? Has he even got 100 yards yet this year?
It's barely over 100. It's like 160.
4 games.
It might be
4
more.
games. That's one game he was sick apparently, so he didn't play that much.
164 yards.
164 yards in 4 games.
2.7 yards an attempt.
It's terrible. It's awful.
It's bad.
Okay, so the offense, the way it's constructed right now, is worse than it was last year at this time. So, and you have a guy who is a bona fide offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Right.
He formed one of the most dynamic offenses back in 2011 with Tom Brady, Gronk, and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Like that offense, it was like what 5,100 yards for Brady.
The talent level is a lot higher than it is.
Well, yeah,
now.
you don't have Gronk and Hernandez, but still that type of.
You don't
offense,
have Tom Brady.
You also don't have Tom Brady. So this offense, the way it's constructed, you have a broken Juju. Who you outbet the Chiefs. As soon as the Chiefs didn't want him,
that's looking like a huge mistake.
That had to have been a huge asterisk. The guy who just won a Super Bowl, the team who just won a Super Bowl, doesn't want to pay him that amount. That has to throw some red flags up. He was your wide receiver 1, basically. I think he was the guy who drew that holding like at the last play of the September. And you're getting rid of Mac Jones' security blanket and Jacoby Myers.
I know. They should have hung on to Jacoby Myers.
On third down, Jacoby Myers was probably the most reliable, I'm not going to say in the NFL, but one of the most reliable receivers on third down for Mac Jones and basically for the entire NFL. He always looked for Jacoby, and Jacoby Myers would make some incredible catches. You don't see Juju and Devontae Parker are one of the slowest receivers I've ever seen in my life.
Right, and Juju Smith-Schuster is not on the same page with Mac Jones. A lot of the time, it looks like he's running a route, and Mac Jones throws the ball in a different spot.
We showed that play where
twice it happened, not in this game, but the prior game.
Yeah, well, I showed the play on Friday, or I think it was either Tuesday or Friday, where it looked like Juju was headed for the sideline, and Mac Jones, that's when he threw it. Then Juju breaks up field, and Mac Jones, it's behind him because that's what Mac Jones saw. By the way, that first drive was beautiful. They were running, they were driving right down the field. The Mac Jones actually did a beautiful toss. It was one of those scared throws, but it was accurate to Gesicki. Gesicki couldn't bring it in, and he had to kick a field goal. And then from then on out, it was hell on earth.
Yeah.
So the Patriots are in danger. And
I agree.
We're going to dive more into depth on Mac Jones versus Bailey Zappi and if Bailey Zappi is really the solution, but I don't know if there's any solution right now for the New England Patriots. So that's unfortunate. Coming up, have the Houston Texans finally found their answer at quarterback? We'll talk about that. Also, Mac Jones got benched for Bailey Zappi in the third quarter. Is it officially Zappi time in New England? And finally, another quarterback that's been having trouble all throughout this year, Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense once again put up a massive dud against the Tennessee Titans. Is it time for the Bengals to say, Joe Burrow, we're going to sit you for a couple games? We'll talk about that right after the break.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast, your food podcast, your mindfulness podcast, your never thought you'd get this far podcast, and watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the content.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen and find out who they're cooking with, where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. Good to have you in on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic for today's show. So, my number one pick of this draft, which I predicted was going to be C.J. Stroud. And so far this season, C.J. Stroud, spoiler alert for Friday, he is right now a top 10 quarterback in the league. Over 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, over 100 passer rating, and he's one of the very few quarterbacks to not have an interception all season. He just beat the crap out of the Steelers 30-6 with over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 111 passer rating. I got to say, do you think that the Houston Texans, it's been a little while since like Deshaun Watson was there, a couple of years. Head coach has always been a problem. Do you think that the Texans finally found some answers to some key positions?
Yes. They got to be very happy with C.J. Stroud, right? He's playing like a seasoned veteran. No interceptions. I mean, for a rookie after 4 games, that's pretty impressive. I wonder if that's ever happened before, whether a rookie, a starting rookie, has ever gone 4 games without throwing an interception. And he has 6 touchdowns, too. Well, that's not bad, right? 4 times 6, that's they got 4 times 6, 24, probably show 25 or 26 touchdowns this year. He's on pace to do that. That's pretty good for a rookie, right? Yeah. And they have a young team. Who was their best wide receiver?
That would be, personally for me, I would say Nico Collins. But I
Nico Collins, I never heard of him.
I think technically, on the depth chart, I'll bring it up very quickly. I think on the depth chart, was it Robert Woods? Is he still on the team?
Oh, Robert Woods, he's a good receiver.
I think so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think
I was right. Nico Collins is 1. Robert Woods is number 2.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, Woods I always thought was a good receiver. So yeah, he can run too, right? I mean, he's not just he's a very mobile quarterback. And he's obviously, I mean, we saw him when he first started, the first game he played in the preseason against the Patriots. He looked terrible.
Yeah, he looked bad.
Awful. I mean, they didn't leave him in there for two drives, but he looked terrible. But, wow, he found something. He's doing great.
Yeah. Well, that's why and first of all, I'll say this. Like right before the draft, people were hating on him for like whatever that test that rookie quarterbacks do. And he scored apparently very, very low on it. People were ripping on him for that and, killing his draft stock. I'll say this. How did he play? How did he play in college? That's what I'm looking at. If he's going out, he doesn't know, quantum physics, that's fine with me. If he could throw the ball accurately to the open receiver, I'm fine with that. And that's why I think there were so many concerns with a number of quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, way too young, way too raw of a quarterback. Bryce Young, size. Yes, I understand. He crushed it at Alabama, but his size was a problem. And even this year, he's dealing with injuries already. Now you look at C.J. Stroud. What's there not to like? What's there to be a little bit worrisome? Oh, he scored poorly on a test. Whoop-de-doo. How'd he play on the field? And I'll say this. Defensive coaches in today's NFL, and we're going to talk about this in the next topic, that's going to be something that's going to be, pushed to the wayside. Most, if not all, defensive coaches are not great. Sean McDermott may be the only outlier here. However, I think we need to put another outlier in. What DeMeco Ryans has done for this team has been absolutely incredible. Like, congratulations to the Texans. They finally have found,
It now is
they are 2-2.
2-2.
Tied for first in the AFC South because every single team in the AFC South is 2-2. However, they've looked like a great team, and C.J. Stroud has looked phenomenal. He's at 300 yards a game, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions on average a game, 100 passer rating. I've been very, very impressed with C.J. Stroud. However, how impressed could I be? I picked him to go number 1 for a reason. Now, I
picked him at number 2.
You picked him at number 2, and you were right because the number 2 pick was the Houston Texans. What's interesting is that they actually hit on some seriously good draft picks, and it was at the wide receiver position. So you had Tank Dell, who went, I think he went late in the draft. I'm sorry, he went third round. But I loved him. I forgot if I put him in the first round or not. I may have. He may have been late first round for me. But you know what? I love the way he looked in college. So I was like, you know what? He's got to go first round. You know what? He's playing phenomenally. He's going with some major catches. Nico Collins, at least in my fantasy league, he's been a huge sleeper pick for one of my friends. He has Nico Collins, has been crushing it. Robert Woods is a good veteran piece. Dameon Pierce, we saw him last season, how he performed very well. And C.J. Stroud, I got to hand to them. The Will Anderson, he's playing well. I got to give it to the Texans. The Texans look extremely well, extremely good. It's just a question of, can this team, I thought they would improve just based on the pieces. Is there a chance they could win the AFC South? I mean, everyone in the AFC South looks bad. The Colts, raw quarterback who makes a decent amount of mistakes, but, however, is promising. You have the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, what is going on with the Jaguars? I have no idea. The Titans, they have hot streaks and they have cold streaks. They play horrible and Ryan Tannehill throws those 3 picks. Then they go up and win 27-4 again, or 27-3 against the Bengals. What's going on there? You have the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud looks great. Phenomenal, even. I'd put him in the top 10 of my quarterbacks. So I don't know exactly how to exactly put the Texans. Where do they fall? Because they're not Chiefs or Bengals. I guess technically right now the Bengals are terrible. But Chiefs, Bills, Dolphins, they're not in that realm.
No.
But they're also not in like Broncos
Patriots.
category. Patriots.
Or the Giants.
Yeah, like in the AFC, Jets, Broncos, Patriots. They're not in that category either. They're somewhere on the bigger. They're closer.
I would say the Jets have a good defense, Nate.
The Jets. No, I'll give it.
They
The Jets do
very
have a good defense. But I'm saying overall team play, and at least on the quarterback, I would say they're more. I would say C.J. Stroud is closer to like. Do I want to pull Mahomes? I'm not going to pull Mahomes.
No.
I'll say Josh. He's closer to Josh Allen in forms of dominating quarterback wise than like a Zach Wilson or a Mac Jones. He right now, for me, he's a top 10 quarterback just based on his play. Based on his play.
Yeah, 4 games after 4 games, you got to put him up there. Look at it; he's got 1,200 yards
We're
in 4
a little,
games.
we're a little bit under a quarter.
He's on
of the year
pace to
done.
get close to 5,000 yards this year. Can you believe that?
I don't think he's going for 5,000.
5,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, no interceptions. Huh?
That
That would make him. He might be the MVP with those numbers.
Well, what's interesting is that he actually is right now favored to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. And you know what?
Yeah.
Deservingly so.
Yeah, I would think so.
Absolutely. So, hands down to the Texans, hands down to DeMeco Ryans, hands down to C.J. Stroud. Keep up the good work, I would say, because I did pick the Texans to at least double their win total.
I think they play the Patriots later in the year, don't they? Don't the Texans play them?
Let's see. Oh, yeah, they do. I think it's week.
Watch out, Patriots, man. This team is better. They're going to be even better by the time they get to them. It's late in the season, I think.
No, they do not play the Patriots this season.
Oh, I thought they did.
I thought they did as well. I think we were thinking of the Commanders and the Colts. That's what they play.
Oh, the Colts, yeah.
Yeah, the Colts. Yeah. So, hey,
The Colts actually don't look so bad either.
Anthony Richardson.
They lost badly this
promising.
past week, right?
He's promising. They came
Well,
back.
no, they came back. They tied at 23-23.
Yeah, and then they went to overtime
and they lost it.
Had trouble. But still, Anthony Richardson has his moments, but he also has those like, what are you doing here?
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie, and that's exactly.
Plus, he's
it.
someone who's hardly played any football.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. He at least looks promising. Bryce Young looks lost. He can't find an open receiver. The receivers for the Panthers can't get open. You know what? That's sort of the Caleb. That's what Caleb Williams is looking at. The number 1 pick sucks most of the time, if not all the time. So we may see him actually go back to college. We talked about that, a couple weeks ago. I think that's going to be a situation that we're going to need to come back to and analyze once again. But hey, hats off to C.J. Stroud. There's a reason I picked him to go number 1. And you know what? Validation is coming to the forefront right now. So let's go. They're at Falcons they're at Falcons this week, 1 p.m. on Fox.
I think they'll probably win that game.
You can get tickets as low as $28. Not bad. Pull out to Atlanta, $28 ticket to go see a football game. Damn, they only have one game.
Too bad it costs so much to get there.
They only have one game that's in triple digits, price-wise, and that's following week versus New Orleans.
Huh.
So, there you go. Relatively cheap Texan seats, but it's good. I'm happy for ZJ.
But that's at Atlanta, right?
At Atlanta, yeah.
So it's the Atlanta ticket.
Well, here's the thing. The triple digits are at Houston. They're not even at the Megadome, Superdome? Superdome.
No, that's New Orleans is the Superdome.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Week 6.
Oh, week 6.
The only ticket that is as low as triple digits is versus New Orleans. So they're at home, and they're doing a triple digit ticket. Cool. Not even the Jets, not even Cincinnati is triple digit ticket prices. So I don't know. Interesting. Whatever. Ticket price no one really cares about. But let's jump into some truth telling. So Mac Jones, we talked about this just a few minutes ago. Mac Jones got benched in the third quarter in a horrible loss to the Dallas Cowboys in which he threw 2 interceptions. One that was a pick 6, and another he had a fumble that got housed on his own 7-yard line. He brought it right back. So it was a very, very bad game for Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi went in, and Belichick was asked about why Mac Jones was benched, and this was his reason.
Yeah, I don't think there was any point leaving him in the game.
And will he be starting next week against the Saints?
Yeah, just so there's no point leaving him in the game, Mike.
So, Bill, was he benched for bad performance, or was he pulled because?
No, I said there was no point leaving him out there, so I took him out. I didn't think there was any point leaving him out there, so I took him out.
Oh, so I think it's time to ask the hard-hitting question, regardless of what Belichick says, because Belichick sometimes flip-flops on what he says versus what he does. Do you think it's time for the Patriots to bring in Bailey Zappi as the permanent solution for at least this year? I guess technically that would be forever. I don't think you bring Mac Jones in, but do you think Bailey Zappi should be the permanent solution at the Patriots quarterback position?
I think they give Mac Jones a couple more games.
Okay.
I mean, the offensive line has been so bad, and the receivers haven't been anything special either, right? We just show that none of them are ranked anywhere. They're off the chart. They've been playing so bad. So I think you give him a little more of a chance. He has had some really good games in the past, and he is an accurate passer. He just has to have the guts to stand in the pocket there when it's starting to collapse around him and keep his wits about him and find that open receiver and get rid of the ball. I do think the play calling has been poor too, right? I mean, they obviously they can't run the ball. So why don't they just stay in the shotgun, do the quick short passing game, dink and dunk, right? I would think they'd try to do that. That way he wouldn't be facing too much pressure, and he'd be getting the ball off faster. Generally, you're going to get 4 yards of pass play. It'd be better than just handing the ball off and a brick wall, right? It's just what it's been.
Yeah.
So I think the play calling has been pretty poor too. They're trying to call plays for a scheme that doesn't work because they don't have the talent. So they got to change that up. I mean, Belichick is noted for making adjustments. He didn't make the adjustments on the offensive side of the ball in the Dallas game that he needed to do. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't think they're going to bench Mac Jones anytime soon for Bailey Zappi. I like Bailey Zappi, but he didn't have any more luck against the Cowboys than Mac Jones did. So
Right.
I don't think he's an interesting guy, and he had some good games last year, but I'm not sure he's any more of a talent than Mac Jones is.
So I find it, hilarious how we take a look at Mac Jones. By the way, this is probably the most pressure Mac Jones has been. He was pressured on 50% of his dropbacks. So the offensive line has been horrible. But we take a look at some of the top quarterbacks in the league: Tua, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. We take a look at them, and there's a few things that they have. First off, they have an offensive coach. Eagles, I would say Nick Sirianni is an offensive coach. Chiefs with Andy Reid. Dolphins with Mike McDaniel. Justin Herbert, he has Kellen Moore, a phenomenal offensive coordinator. Brandon Staley should be fired. He's a defensive head coach, and his defense isn't anything to speak about, even though, credit to Khalil Mack, he just had 6 sacks.
One game.
Yeah, that's it. Khalil Mack had a phenomenal game. Here's the thing, even the Cowboys, I think offense is going to be a huge question mark, but still, the Lions, Ben Johnson, great offensive coordinator. The Patriots don't really have that. Oh, you have Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy. I mean, we take a look at it. I think there's different tiers of offenses, right? So we have, the unicorns where you have great weapons, a great offensive line, and a great quarterback. There's a few teams where you have that. I think the Chargers, I think the Chiefs, I think the Eagles. You may throw the Dolphins in there, although their offensive line sometimes has some rough patches. But generally, I would include the Dolphins there. So you have 4 teams in the NFL where they hit on all cylinders. Great weapons, great offensive line, great quarterback. Now you have some other pieces where it's question mark. You have one discrepancy. Either a bad offensive line, or they're not up to the par weapons, or you don't have a great quarterback. Brock Purdy, for example. His offensive line, at least for the past couple of years, and the 49ers have had this, they've had a pretty good offensive line. This season, it's a big question mark. However, the prior seasons, they've had a top 3 offensive line. Not only that, you've had average quarterback play, but you've had weapons up the wazoo. You got weapons everywhere they turn. They could turn a 5-yard pass into a 65-yard touchdown. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Jennings, CMC, Elijah Mitchell. You have pieces that are absolutely phenomenal in the game where you could literally throw it 5 yards and they would get a 35-yard completion from that 5-yard pass. What do the Patriots have? I mean, think about it. Jalen Hurts. They didn't know what the hell they were thinking about moving off of Jalen Hurts. Then they go out and draft Devontae Smith. They go out and trade for A.J. Brown. Now we're talking about Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback, top 3 quarterback. He just made the Super Bowl and was second for MVP last season. We saw Tua Tagovailoa. What's happening? They go out and draft Jalen Waddle. They go out and trade for Tyreek Hill. The offense is explosive. They just scored 70 points in a game and had over 700 yards of offense. What? They also got
a Kuhn.
A chain, I think.
A chain
or whatever. So they have pieces around. They have great weapons. I mean, look at Josh Allen. His first couple years without Stephon Diggs, he wasn't all that great. And honestly, there were some very, very embarrassing moments. You get Stephon Diggs, light bulb goes off. He plays great. He's in MVP conversations, it seems like every single year. Joe Burrow basically immediately had Jamar Chase, and they've had success. Mac Jones, great rookie year. One of the best rookie years. Josh McDaniels, they had a great scheme. He gets rewarded with Juju Smith-Schuster, who has leg issues. Mike Gesicki, who's one-dimensional. You got Kendrick Bourne, who I like, but they got to figure out a way to make it work. He was in the doghouse last season. Devontae Parker, who's dealing with health issues. You never really had someone. Demario Douglas is an interesting option, but he doesn't really play that much. You got to play him more. Keyshawn Booty is another one of those. What?
Yeah. He's very small, too.
He is. But they don't have a guy who's a solidified number one. The Patriots, ever since Brady left, the flaws have just been basically put on the table for everyone to see. Brady covered up an insane amount of flaws that the Patriots had. You could have a Chris Hogan, a Danny Amendola, a Julian Edelman, a Malcolm Mitchell. You could have subpar receivers and make them Super Bowl champions because you had one of, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. Take a look at week 1 for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes did not have a great game. He looked nervous. He looked like he didn't know who to throw to. Yes, Kadarius Toney had a couple bad drops. But overall, Mahomes didn't play that well. He didn't know who to throw it to. He didn't trust a lot of his receivers. So the fact that Mac Jones is traded with, washed up people, I made the joke. The Bears have a landfill of wide receivers. Every receiver that basically any other team didn't want, they just dump it for the Bears to take. That's now sort of become the Patriots. A bunch of washed receivers, injury-riddled receivers and tight ends, no offensive line. That's who the Patriots are. And that's why I'm saying, no, Bailey Zappi should not be the quarterback. I think Bill Belichick, like we talked about, in the offseason, this actually falls a lot on him. He's the one that hires the coaches. He's the one that drafts the players. He's the one that signs the contracts. He's the one that goes out and searches for players to get. It was cute. Oh, yeah, the Patriots are interested in OBJ. Falls through. The Patriots are interested in DeAndre Hopkins. Falls through. Let's go out and get Juju to replace Jacoby Myers, who knew the system, who Mac Jones trusted, who Mac Jones liked, who Mac Jones looked for on those crucial third down plays. Let's send him to the Raiders for essentially the same amount of total money. I mean, all these quarterbacks, where they took that next step, they got a number one receiver. Or they had a developing, if not fully developed, offensive line. The Patriots have a broken offensive line with washed up pieces or pieces that aren't very good or huge question marks. They have no true receiver one. Hell, I think a lot of these receivers should be wide receiver 3s on most teams. Running game, you don't really got much. Ezekiel Elliott, he's sort of efficient but not great. And Ramondre Stevenson hasn't had a good season. That very well could be because of the offensive line. But is Mac Jones? I'll bring you in now. Is Mac Jones Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Is he Jalen Hurts?
No.
Is he any one of the top 12 to 13 to 14 to half the league in quarterback ranking?
I would say no.
Better? Right. So what do you have to do? It's the exact same thing the 49ers did for Jimmy G. It's the exact same thing that the Vikings did for Kirk Cousins.
Bring in a number one.
You have to bring in key pieces.
Yeah.
You cannot let Mac Jones do something that he isn't, and that's a creator. Belichick is trying to make this into something that isn't there. He's trying to make a dish without any ingredients. He's throwing in, let's add a week-old banana. Let's add some trash. Let's add a bunch of things. Let's add a split in half, whatever the case may be. There's no meal there. It's just scraps. So I really think Robert Kraft is looking for a playoff appearance, if not a playoff win. Let's at least get to 5 wins. Let's get to 5. Let's not even think about playoffs. Let's not even think about playoff wins. Let's just get 5 wins. And then you got Tyquan Thornton coming back. Oh, great. Tyquan Thornton. He didn't have a great season last year. He's a young receiver. You have no offensive line.
I don't see him being a number one. I really don't.
Mac Jones is not a great quarterback. I don't think anyone's expecting him or thought of him as a great quarterback. Everyone said he has a very low ceiling because he's not mobile, he's not athletic, and he doesn't have a Josh Allen arm. Jimmy G made a Super Bowl, was winning in the Super Bowl. He was winning in the fourth quarter of an NFC Championship game. If the 49ers defensive back just didn't let the ball go through his hands, Jimmy G may have won a Super Bowl back in 2021. But we'll never see that. We'll never know. Jimmy G outplayed Aaron Rodgers. Hell, Mac Jones outplayed Tom Brady in the Bucs-Patriots game a couple years ago. Mac Jones was a significantly better quarterback that day than Tom Brady. Mac Jones could play. You just got to give him something. The Patriots have nothing. They got a bunch of washed-up broken pieces.
Yeah, you're making some good points.
Belichick, I think something has to change. Mac Jones did not play good. He didn't even play okay. He played bad. But I can't say it's the same thing with Brock Purdy. He has so many weapons. We'll never actually fully understand.
He has a great offensive line.
We'll never fully understand how good or bad
Brock Purdy can stand back there. And actually, didn't you say, though, that the time to pass Brock Purdy is not that high for him?
Yeah, but he's getting the ball out quick because all those receivers can break open.
Yeah.
The average yards of separation for a receiver this season for the NFL is 2.5 yards. The Patriots are 1.6. A yard and a half of space between him and defender. I guarantee you. I saw this online. I guarantee Brady would not succeed in this offense. He has no offensive line, no protection. That's the one thing that's one of the reasons why Brady was so efficient early on when they didn't rely on him to throw 45, 50 times a game. They had a great offensive line, a great run game. They didn't have great receivers. They just allowed Tom Brady to look and make his read and make the right throw. Mac Jones is taking one look, and then you got a guy coming from his left. He looks left, he has a guy coming to his right. He takes the snap, you got the center fall, you got David Andrews falling backwards, and you got like Micah Parsons in your face. He has no time to do his read. And on the game losing pass, where it was given to Cole Strange, I think it was against the Dolphins. If Mac Jones read his progression, Devontae Parker was open on the right side of the field. He had no time to look. He had no time to read it because the offensive line collapsed. He needed to get the ball out. I think it was to Gesicki. Got to give him something. Mac Jones, yes, he's average. Yes, he has a low ceiling. Yeah, he's right now below average. But I would love to know one quarterback that would succeed in the Patriots offense with bottom 5 weapons, a bottom 2 offensive line. I would say right now, bottom 10 running backs. I would love anyone.
It'd have to be somebody who could scramble and be very mobile and very fast. Maybe Lamar Jackson.
But even then, though, like we saw Justin Fields last season, he had no offensive line, no weapons. They won 3 games.
Yeah,
they won 3. Lamar at least has a top. Since Lamar came to the league, they've averaged a top 5 offensive line, regardless of the weapons. So Lamar actually had time to make at least a decent read and then decide if he wants to run. Mac Jones doesn't have that liberty. I mean, Brock Purdy, Debo could separate. Kittle could separate. Brandon Ayuk looks like a wide receiver 1. Jennings looks good. CMC, you could just dish it down to him. I mean, CMC right now, it's a quarterback award, but CMC should be.
Maybe City Soul should get in the game.
Oh God! Don't even. I think right now.
Has he even on the team now?
Yeah. He's dealing with an injury. I think he was the lowest graded run blocking offensive line for the Patriots.
Yeah.
So if they don't have any run blocking now, putting in City So will only make it worse somehow. Got to give him weapons. All right, let's get into our next topic here. So, Joe Burrow, my MVP pick. I don't know if I picked him going to the Super Bowl, but he was my MVP pick. Joe Burrow has looked bad. Has looked really, really bad. So this Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense once again came up very, very small in their 27-3 loss, 24-point loss to the Tennessee Titans, where Ryan Tannehill outplayed Joe Burrow. I want to know, do you think the Bengals should consider benching Joe Burrow to allow them to, let him get healthy?
Is he? Do we think he's hurt? Is he definitely still hurt?
He's dealing with that calf injury still. Yeah.
Well, that calf injury has been around for quite some time, right? It happened right at the beginning of preseason.
I think it was early August.
Yeah.
It might have been August 1st.
I don't think he played a preseason. I don't think
he didn't play preseason.
No, because he was hurt with that, and I think he missed out on that. Right? I mean, maybe he would have benefited from playing in the preseason and being able to do something except stand around and watch. And you're seeing it in the first 4 games. He looks worse than he did when he was a rookie.
Right.
Right. He's having a terrible time. So I think if he's hurt, they should sit him down. If he really is hurt, why would they have him play out there? I mean, they obviously didn't have it last week, and his stats, I don't know. I mean, in the game before, they didn't score that many points. They had 19 points, I think. They just barely won that game. So they look pretty bad this year. They're 1-3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who's their backup quarterback?
Jake Browning, I think. I
never heard of him. I think it's going to be hard for them to sit down Joe Burrow unless he says, you know what, my leg hurts too much. I can't play. I need a game off. Otherwise, I think they're going to put him out there.
I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. And they honestly, they played this very, very poorly because Joe Burrow was a huge question mark for week 1, still dealing with a calf injury. Guess what? Do we really think the Bengals would be better than 1-3 if Burrow sit for the first 4 games? Do we really think that they
probably wouldn't be worse than that?
I don't know if they would be worse because you lost to the Browns, lost to the Ravens, you lost to the Titans. You beat the Rams, but honestly, the Rams outplayed you for 3 quarters. It was just unfortunate they couldn't get anything going, and Matt Stafford didn't play that well in that game. So very well, the Bengals could be in the same exact position, except right now we'd be talking about a healthy Joe Burrow coming into week 5 now, hoping to get the Bengals back on track. Now we're thinking about potentially having them to sit Burrow and basically saying, season's done. We're going to be down. I'll say this. The next 2 games against the Cardinals and the Seahawks, sit. Because then you're up against the... then it was the 49ers, the Bills, the Texans who are playing out of their minds right now, the Ravens and Steelers. Most, if not all of them, have great defenses who are going to pressure you a lot.
I think the saving grace for the Bengals is they're in a division that they can probably find a way to win if they can get a little better later on in the year.
I don't know if the Ravens are going to slow down. The Ravens look good. I picked the Ravens to lose this week. They won.
The Ravens have a bunch of injuries, and they're still winning.
Right. So, I really don't know.
But the Steelers, I think, are a question mark now, right? They got
offensively,
offensively, they got a lot of problems too. And
Ryan
the Colts have Richardson, who's playing quite well. I think he's playing better than I expected, but he's still a rookie, and I think that. So those 2 teams, you're going to get wins against them, and
you would think,
yeah, and maybe you've already lost to the Ravens and the Browns. The Browns, maybe you can beat them later in the year too. So you might win the division. You might find a way to win the division.
Here's the thing. They went down, 0-2 last season, and maybe even the year before, and they were able to slowly come back from that. Guess what? This season is completely different because Joe Burrow was healthy after those 0-2.
Yeah.
This season, now you're thinking about, we're basically a quarter of the season done, and now we're thinking about sitting Burrow for a number of games. So the entire the Bengals misplayed this, I think, because Burrow was a huge question mark. And really after week 1, right, when you put up 3 points against the Browns and Burrow's getting smacked upside the head, basically every single drop back, you got to think, can we play? Can we keep playing this guy? And yes, Joe Burrow's tough. He wants to play. He's frustrated. However,
he has a history of getting banged up, right? I mean, and getting sacked.
The offensive line
in the playoff run there when they got to the Super Bowl, wasn't he getting sacked 7 and 8 times a game in the playoffs?
Yeah.
So he that doesn't generally affect his performance, but when he has an injury, that's a different story.
I'll say this. I commend him for going out there and trying to do his best. However, at some point, the Bengals coaching, staff, and everyone else has to realize, does Joe Burrow, at his current state, put us in a higher chance to win or a higher chance to lose? So far, he's actually, I don't know if I have the exact stat here, but you can look at the lower third here. 32nd in complete, this is out of 34 quarterbacks. 32nd in completion percentage, 34th in touchdowns, 29th in passing yards per game. Like his 34th in passer rating. He's been like the worst quarterback in the league. He is a bigger detriment than he is a benefit to your team. At some point, you got to say, Burrow, we're going to look at, we have to get you 100% if we even have a chance to come back from this. Sit next game, Like sit this week against the Cardinals, maybe sit next week against the Seahawks. We got to get you healthy enough if we're going to try to make the playoffs. Because if they do lose the next 2 games, so that's 1-5. Can they win their next 11 games to go to 12-5?
Probably not.
Because then you're going up against
they have a tough schedule,
the
right?
49ers and the Bills in the next game after the Seahawks game. The Texans, like I said, playing out of their minds. Ravens again. You're playing the Chiefs later on in the year.
I think they probably beat the Texans. So I think the Texans are, they're playing over their heads a little bit right now.
You really think so? You think this
so.
could be a facade?
No, I don't think it's a facade, but I think that they may be playing a little over their heads.
Ryan Tannehill outplayed Joe Burrow. You don't think C.J. Stroud dropping 300 yards a game can outplay Joe Burrow?
No. The Titans can have good success because they have the running game, right? They have Derrick Henry had over 100 yards in that game. And when he runs like that, then that makes it much easier for Tannehill.
That is true. For me, I'd bench him. Let him get healthy. Because right now he's killing your team. He's the worst quarterback in the league right now. And he was my MVP pick. So that makes it seem, bad. Actually, no. Zach Wilson. Because of Zach Wilson's performance against the Chiefs, Joe Burrow is now officially, statistically, the worst quarterback in the league.
Is he statistically the worst quarterback?
I mean, that's basically dead last in all major quarterback statistic categories.
32nd in completion percentage, 34th in TDs, 29th in pass
that's
yards per game, and last in passer rating.
That's out of 34 quarterbacks.
That's pretty bad.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson was lights out against the Chiefs. Maybe should have won that game. But, we're not talking about that controversy in this episode of the Harvey Hour. So I'd bench him. Let him get healthy because you're already screwed. Why let an injured Joe Burrow keep having a risk of a re-injury? Instead, you can let him get healthy for the rest of the season. You're putting him at risk.
Yeah.
He's putting himself at risk. Bengals training staff, use your brains here, please. If you want to have a chance to win, let Joe Burrow get healthy because clearly it's bothering him. I don't know. He can't get the ball downfield. Jamar Chase is saying he's always open. Not looking good for my. I don't know if I had him in the Super Bowl, but at least I had Joe Burrow winning MVP. Yeah, it's not looking good for the Bengals. It's time. We do this every single Tuesday because we don't have a show on Wednesday and Thursday. We make our Thursday night football picks here. So, looks like Justin Fields and the 0-4 Bears. They were this close to being the Broncos. This close. 0-4 Bears are up against the Commanders, who just went toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles. Justin Fields versus Sam Howell. I want you to start with this one. Who wins and what is the score?
I think the Commanders are going to win, and I think they will win by 30-24.
So, I agree with you.
The point spread is 6, right?
6.5.
So, I don't think that the Commanders will beat the point spread.
I'll say I agree with you on the fact that they won't cover the point spread. I have the Commanders winning 28-24. I would have if Justin Fields put up another dud. However, Justin Fields went off and had a phenomenal game. He had a great game. However, it was against a depleted Broncos defense. However, he has a good game. He has a good game, but regardless of the fact of whatever you want to describe it as, or whether you want to add context or not. So I'm going to say Justin Fields keeps it relatively close, but I do think the way Sam Howell is playing so far, he had a horrible game against the Bills. We just saw the Bills beat the crap out of the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are one of the most high-flying offenses right now in the NFL. So the Bills, they're an anomaly this season. They just had a horrible loss against the Jets. Now they went up against every other team and blew them out. So I'm going to take the Commanders to win here. I think Sam Howell plays great. I think Justin Fields has a decent good game. But I just think, Sam Howell gets the job done. Commanders, they look good against the Eagles. Could that be the Eagles are not as good as we think? Or is it that the Commanders are maybe half decent this season?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. We'll have to obviously wait and see. But you know what? It's going to be interesting to see moving forward how each team is going to perform. But I do believe that wraps up this episode of the Harvey Hour. So on Friday, we do have Fridays when I'm going to do my Nate's Notches and my top 10 quarterbacks. Also, as a little tidbit, the MLB playoff starts up this weekend. Friday, we'll be making our MLB postseason predictions.
All right.
I think we're both going to have the same. I have a feeling we're going to both have the same ending team because one of the teams is far and above easily the best team in the MLB. But obviously, you have to wait and see for that. We'll also talk about the Thursday night game. We got our picks for next week. We have a huge episode on Friday. I'm just thinking about all the topics we have going on. Of course, if any other news breaks, we'll be right on top of that. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the co-hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security